Hey everyone, James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. Micah and I just got back from RSA. We're tired, we're sleepless, but we were so happy to meet so many of you there and be able to exchange in conversation around cybersecurity. The episode you're about to listen to was recorded at RSA, and we're so proud to bring it to you guys today. We're so excited about a lot of the conversations we had at RSA. We look forward to getting your feedback. And without further ado, here's a quick message from our sponsors at RSA, and then right into this CISO Talk RSA Roadshow special. Until next week, guys, stay cyber safe. Do you know where all your keys are stored? Do you know how many certificates and keys you have? Are you managing keys in multiple environments? If you don't have a secure cryptographic foundation, chances are you're struggling to understand the status and security of your cryptographic keys. Unbound's key security and management experts can help. Our FIBS validated cryptographic key security and management platform allows you to maintain visibility of all your keys, whether on-prem or in the cloud, without compromising on your security. Know exactly where your keys are and how they're being used. Manage them all with a single pane of glass. Automate operations in your organizations while saving time and money and manpower on doing just that. With Unbound, your enterprise can achieve agility and efficiency, gain control, and reduce risk. Today, Unbound is offering CyberHub Engage listeners a free demo of their cryptographic key management technology. Just go to bit.ly-getunbound. Again, that's bit.ly/getunbound for a direct ability to book your free demo of their cryptographic key management technology, which will help you secure your organization. Again, that's bit.ly-getunbound. Hey everyone, I want to talk to you about Synac's crowdsourced security platform that delivers effective continuous penetration testing at scale. Synac uses the world's top security researchers and AI-enabled technology to find what scanners and regular testing do not. It's used by the US DoD, leading enterprise and high-growth mid-market companies that strive for a quicker turnaround and better security. To learn more about their crowdsourced security platform, go to synac.com. Again, that's Synac, SYNACK.com. That's synac.com for more information. Hey everyone, I want to tell you a little bit about our friends over at Synopsys. We had the great pleasure of partnering with them at RSA, but I want to tell you a little bit more about Codeside IDE. So DevOps, these guys like to work in their strict environment, whether it be Jenkins, Jira, or whatever they are. Well, Codeside IDE plugs into that environment and allows the DevOps to become DevSecOps by essentially launching tickets into your ticketing system, whichever ticketing system you use, right into their environment, meaning security is no longer on the back burner, it's on the front end of it with our DevSecOps team. So go to synopsys.com for more information and let them know that CyberHub Engage sent you over there. Go to synopsys.com and let them know James sent us to check out Codeside IDE. Hey everyone, James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. We at our RSA at beautiful Fogo to chat with friends over at Synac. I've got Mark Walmsley. Did I say that right?
Yeah, perfect. Well done.
You know, I'm trying. You're the CISO at Freshfields. There's two other German names, but I can't say those. Kind of inherently hard to say a German name.
Yeah, agreed. It was difficult in the previous session as well.
It was. So I've seen you on two panels,
right,
yesterday and today. I got to tell you, I loved your performance today. Our audience doesn't really know your background, but you really started in legal.
Actually, I didn't. I started as a private investigator. So my background is my father was a police officer. He started up his own investigation agency. I worked with him and other people, studied law, and then came in and spent a decade as a litigator before then deciding I wasn't quite for me. And then got into project management, which ended up being security for a European bank, which I won't mention, and wrote a short, if you like, pitch to the business about where security was going to be. This is 10 years ago, so it wasn't really moving. And
it wasn't even cyber then, it was still InfoSec.
It was just InfoSec and firewalls, right?
Right.
And I wrote this paper for the business and said, listen, this is the world going forward, and clients are going to be major in what we're doing. And it isn't going to be InfoSec, it's going to be InfoSec and security. It's going to be about behaviors, it's going to be about technology. It's going to be about suppliers, and it all comes down to whoever can do it the best with clients. We're going to be able to use the business development opportunity to get the biggest deals from the biggest corporates in the world. And they took one look at it, and I didn't want the job. I was a program manager at the time, and they looked at it and said, "Great, you're now the head of information security." I said, "Oh, this is not how it works." And so we took some time, and I thought about it and said, "Listen, what's the investment that's going in? And these are the areas that I think are key for us. Who's going to give the governance over the top of that particular type of role to make sure that it feels like it's independent from IT and from risk and from procurement?" And they just said, "Listen, you write it and we'll deliver it." We got a consultancy that came in, said, "This is the structure that I would like." They said, "Yeah, it's fine, some tweaks here." And we ran it, and the business has been superb for 7 years. Continuing investment, they get it, they prioritise the risk. It's been an amazing little journey, I must say.
One of the things is, how did you use your security program to build trust with your customers?
Okay, so we kind of covered it a little bit in that last presentation.
A little bit, slightly, but our audience wasn't privy to it.
Fine, okay. So how do you build trust with your customer? So there are, in the legal world, there are kind of two things that are important. You have panel terms, which is the contract that you have with your client about how you behave, the services that you deliver, how you secure your business, how you bill for the work that you're doing, and how you deal with conflicts. Now, if you get that bit right and you get a security professional to come in and look at some of those panel agreements, and obviously come from the legal side, so it kind of works, and then you look at them and say, well, wait a second, that's not practical. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be working in this particular way. And you find some commonality that you can work on together. You understand how their business, where their business risk is, and you explain where your business risk is. Suddenly they start to go, well, wait a second, we've got this really trusted relationship going on now. I understand how you're working, you understand how I'm working, we've got some common ground to go through. And they go, right, I now believe in you. And what I was saying before is if you get that right, so security doesn't sit on a board in most places. It's not a dedicated role, but risk does. And so if you get it right, you get that going really well, and you go into your risk function. Let's say it's a bank. Let's say it's a big bank. You go in and say, this is how we're going to work going forward. They report in, say, I've had a chat with the CISO at Freshfields. This is their strategy. This is how they're working. They do all of this stuff, how we want it. They don't do this thing that way, but they do it in a different way, which is good for us. And so you get that trust, and it comes back down into our business, into the partners that say, well done, you've done a great job. The client believes, gets your strategy, thinks you're visionary, is ready to work with us on the bigger deals.
And that kind of takes us into yesterday. The panel was a lot to do with crowdsourcing your security testing, and Synac obviously is probably the market leader in that. Sure. So kind of looking at that, how did you raise the bar for pen testing using kind of crowdsourcing, and how are you leading the way with that? I mean, how did you overcome all the challenges that a CISO has in just getting a pen test sometimes done, but doing it in a crowdsourced environment even?
Yeah, okay. Lots of different ways to answer the question. One of the cool things to say is our business is going through a huge amount of transformation at the moment, and therefore we're delivering lots of new products for clients. We're replacing a lot of our network. We're consolidating it down. Anything that goes through big change has to be tested, has to be reviewed and tested. So we're okay with the concept of pen testing happening regularly, just to make sure the products are safe and good to go to market. So we're fine. That's not a challenge for us. And we're required to do it by our clients. It's in the panel terms. And if it's not, I make sure it's written in there. So we're already legally obligated to do it. So that's a good starting point. Where we got to around crowdsource is businesses can run in two ways. You can lift the carpet and go, I've done something and I've got a piece of paper and I'm just going to brush the rest underneath there, which might be your traditional pen testing. Or you can go, actually, I need to understand the entire risk of a particular technology and fix it, because that's really efficient. And when we started to show, kind of said it before, my job is to represent risk to the business, to say, this is the risk, you can do this, and this is the amount of revenue you get. But when you start to talk about this product is going live and it cannot fail because it's for these particular clients, then actually you're in a world of crowdsourced, deep dive, pen testing that's very fast, and you get the output which is very clear on the list of this is things that you need to fix. And as soon as you represent that back to the business, don't forget lawyers are highly regulated.
Well, I mean, it's just I'm thinking as a CISO trying to get my legal to sign off on a contract that allows our environment to be crowdsourced pen testing from people from all over the world. I already see that argument in my head, and sometimes you just don't even want to go down that path. Okay. So what was different for you?
So, well, let me flip that question back to you, actually, and
sure.
It'll be a bit difficult. What's the difference between crowdsource, where they are all employed by SINAC, they're all background checked, highly background checked, and they go through a 6-month program before they can touch anything, and when they touch it, every keystroke is recorded. What's the difference between that and going to a major consultancy where they will bring in consultants that sit in your business, that touch all of your data? It's not recorded in the same way, and they work in that way. Where is the difference between those two?
So when you look at it from a legal perspective, and I haven't taken SINAC to anyone and tried to sell it. I mean, let me just be crystal clear in that aspect. But I think there's you know how people still sometimes walk into the store, they don't order everything from Amazon quite yet.
Yeah.
You still walk into the store, you want to feel it, you want to try it on, and then you want to walk away with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like for a lot of people, pen testing is the same thing. You want to see those people because it's the false sense of security.
Yep.
They're sitting in my building, so I've got control.
Yep.
It's that false sense of control.
Yep.
So I get your question. It's a very smart question back. But at the same time, I know many CISOs who've looked at kind of going down the crowdsource, and the obstacle you have to overcome is people want to feel it, see it, and touch it. They want to know that the pen testers are local, that they're US based, that they see them, that the company that can go knock on someone's door and the company's there. And so that has a different aspect to it, I think. That's where it's at.
I get that. Most corporates now are outsourcing, offshoring their services. It's no different for me. And you can say, I mean, I'm not selling SINAC as a service to anyone. I'm telling you why we've bought them. Because you can control that. So you can say, I only want people in the US to go and red team this particular application. And I only want them to go to this degree. So when we pen test applications, no one is allowed to go into the corporate data. So we give them the final product with dummy data in it. They can't touch the live system.
Gotcha.
So they're having
you're setting controls in place.
Exactly. So the risk is really minimal. It's just the speed and the output is very, very different for us.
How would you say the speed and the output are different? Is it twice as fast, 3 times as fast, 10 times as fast?
So, okay, so let's talk about, and everyone's going to hate me for talking about traditional pen testing here. So
no one's going to hate you, because I feel like pen testing is kind of like tires, right? You need it.
Yep. You do.
Right? And it's an issue of price.
Yep.
But then there's the issue of durability. When I lived in Colorado, I would buy snow tires.
Yeah.
No matter what, I always bought snow tires, because guess what it does in Colorado?
Yeah, it snows.
It snows, right? I live in Georgia now. I buy all season tires.
Yep.
You know why? Because I have 4 seasons. It rarely ever snows in Georgia.
Yep.
And so I don't necessarily need snow tires. So pen testing is almost the same traditional pen, but tires have improved over time, right? It used to be you had one set of tires.
Yep. Your point is great, and I can follow on nicely from it. So do we still do traditional pen tests? Absolutely. There are applications that we don't consider to be highly critical to us that a traditional pen test is perfect for. And the speed for those are fine. So you've got your week lead up to scope out the size of the test, then you get your pen testers in for a couple of weeks. They write the report up, you read the report, you then sign off the report, do the remediation work, and then they come back and they retest to make sure that everything's fine. And maybe that takes you a couple of months, maybe it takes you slightly longer. And that's fine for 80% of what we do. Where we've got applications where speed to market is critical for us, and it's more important for other businesses that are technologists or banks where those applications have got a deadline they've got to get to. We're talking about running a test and getting the remedial stuff back in 5 days.
Wow.
And spin-up is a call. There is no scope on it, because don't forget, traditional pen testers need to understand what the application does, where it's hosted, where the database is, so they can check to make sure that the standard ways of breaking into it are there for them to check. In this world here, it's, guess what? There's the house. Break into it however you like. Go through the windows, take the tiles off, go through the door, cut another
dig
gate,
under,
move the house somewhere else altogether. There are no rules. And it's gamified. So it's all about being the best of the best. Very different concept.
That kind of takes me to something that maybe you and I may disagree on.
Okay.
Maybe.
I'm ready for it.
Are you ready for it?
I'm ready for it.
So you talk about how it's important to discuss, and you were mentioning it yesterday, openly about your security strategy with peers, with industry.
Yeah.
I'm of one that says, I don't mind doing those conversations, but never in a forum like RSA. That's why I do my roundtables.
Yep.
Right, where, no phones, no cameras, just the right people in the room listening.
Yep.
Why do you support the idea of it's so important to discuss it openly with everyone?
Yeah, so there's always things that you don't discuss. So the crown jewels stay locked in the safe.
Okay, good.
Firmly.
So excellent.
It's not there. Go back 5 years, and as you were CISO, if another big business got breached or another law firm got breached, you would, for want of a better way of explaining it, do a mini fist pump in the air, because it wasn't you.
Right.
And you hope that the breach was sufficiently low that you created a low barrier. So as long as you were better than that, you were in a good place. And then what's happened over the time is that CISOs have become much more intelligent about risk management. It's less about technology, and it's now about how the business operates. And as a result of that, we now have to share more information. So no insider stuff, no anti-competitive behavior, but it's a little bit like, well, how do we get past this problem? What are we thinking about here? Where are the areas that we've got some commonality? And then if you take that concept and you move it further on, then the CISOs start to become more important in the technology world, because they start to say, you and me, we're both CISOs, we're in different places, we use a particular product, but actually there is a capability that we both need, because we've talked about it together. We now have an opportunity to go and speak to the supplier and say, we need this to be roadmapped for the future, for your technology. So that's point one. Point two is, particularly in legal, if you have a breach, law firms are like other partnerships, they're quite unique to work in. They're fun, but it can be difficult. If you have a breach, the one nice thing is being able to call, under legal contract, a bunch of other CISOs, some other law firms, to say, listen, I need some techies just to unbox my laptops and check them. I need someone to help me run these reports, or just to be able to give me some bouncing advice.
Right.
That's not from a consultancy, that understands my industry, understands how we make money. That's a very different concept. Does that kind of make sense?
It does.
Or have I skirted the issues?
You've skirted a few of them, but I will agree with you on. I was speaking to Michael Maxman. He's the CISO for the city of San Francisco.
Yep.
And one of the things we were talking about yesterday was around the area of how can city governments and municipal governments come together to secure small business. Mm-hmm. So how can they provide tools? And then how do you go to your industry partners, like your big companies here, like LinkedIn and Google and Facebook and Adobe, and you go, hey, you guys have millions and millions of dollars in resources and security. Let's find a way to bunch those together with some of your industry peers, some of your vendors, and really offer something that makes it accessible to the small business. Because the small business may not need deception and next-gen firewall. They may need the very, very basics.
Yep.
But they just don't know how to get there.
Yep. Okay, I can answer that. I've got a great answer for it.
Please.
So in the UK, there's something called NCFC. It's part of GCHQ.
Right.
It's a National Cybersecurity Centre, and they started a scheme 2 years ago where they'd take people from corporates and put them into NCFC. So 1 day a week or 2 days a week, they'd actually sit as incident responders inside NCFC, so technical roles. And I spoke to them and I said, so who's running the strategy for the engagements that are going on? And they said, well, what are you talking about? So which CISOs who aren't your techies that sit in your incident response room. Who have you got who are CISOs or security managers that are going to come in and say, the legal industry works like this, you are government, how do we get together so we can do a handshake? And so they created a brand new scheme as a result of it, and 5 or 6 CISOs got together, meet every month, a couple of times a month, to explain to government the challenges that we've got, and government explain back the intelligence that they're seeing, the things that they can do, and together we worked out, actually, we can start to produce tool sets, guides, access to technologists, access to people who were consultants but give their time for free to select companies, in order that you can start to be much more pragmatic about those different industries getting together. And it's been working incredibly well.
See, and that's something where it's really doable in the UK. Israel has a a 911 number for small businesses who experience ransomware.
Yep.
And we're seeing that kind of, Estonia has something really similar.
Yep. So we have it in the UK as well.
Right. I've seen the UK stuff and I'm impressed with it. I love it because I feel like that's the right model for small businesses. I'm not talking about a big enterprise leeching on government.
Yep.
But I'm talking about big government and big enterprise coming together and finding a way to pay it down to the people who don't have the resource, don't have the knowledge, don't have the know-how of dealing with security. And you know, this year the theme for RSA is the human element. And a lot of people go, well, we just shouldn't have people are the biggest problem. Well, maybe technology should catch up to people. Yeah,
listen, that's a great point, and I agree with you. I think what we're seeing now is it's actually less on the business side, but they are getting together. So you are getting the big players in the world, particularly security companies, getting together with small, medium-sized enterprises and saying, well, how do we do that handshake with society? And where it's really coming in, though, is it's starting to filter through schools and parents. So suddenly you're starting to get that education there. If that education is going to start to filter up, the challenges...
But we're building it up. Palo Alto, by the way, had an amazing commercial. I don't know if you've seen it. They did a commercial where they've got a bunch of little kids running through their offices.
Yep.
And as they're running through their offices, they come in as essentially 6-7-year-olds. By the time the commercial's over, they're adults working at Palo Alto.
Yep.
And none of the commercials about Palo Alto outside of, you see the kids running through a Palo Alto office.
Yep.
Outside of that, nothing. It's all cyber. It's all these maturity level. And you go, it's brilliant in the aspect of, when I saw it, I was all like, that's so brilliant. Mm-hmm. It's a great commercial because you're really, what you're essentially doing is you're building that pipeline of talent that the industry needs.
Yep. But
you're also creating that, you're also getting people to relate to your brand in a whole different level. I think, you know, you and I, we're probably both might be parents, you know?
Yep.
And so when you have kids, you're always thinking, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and this morning we had a women's brunch here, and I was telling the folks here, I'm like, it's great to have a closed door women event.
Yep.
For women to talk. Those are very, very useful. I go, men do this, I think sometimes do very similar stuff. I go, but to get more people involved in cyber requires a wider conversation.
Of course it does, yeah.
And it needs more people, more stakeholders. And the conversation really has to be beyond of what do we do?
Yep.
It's got to be, here's all the stuff that we're doing. And here's how we're going to do it. And we're going to start going to high schools and talking to these women and really kind of changing the way they see. My daughter's 14, so I'm always saying like, hey, you know, while you're YouTubing stuff, YouTube a how to code Python video.
Yep. No, I agree. So I've got children 6 and almost 8. They'll tell you what a firewall is, but I've never explained it to them. They obviously just listen to what I do. It's a great, I've got a little video of it. It's literally 20 seconds long. In the back and say, can you explain what my job is? And they go, my daddy's a CISO, he protects data, he looks after firewalls. And you suddenly go, well, I've never explained that to you. You might have heard me on calls, because obviously you work from home late, whatever. But that's, you know, there's other ways of filtering it through. But I agree, then the next generation is not the 16, 18, 21-year-olds doing their degrees and their A-levels as you would have them.
Yeah, it's the
grassroots.
It's 6, 7 years old. It's your kid's age.
Exactly. And so I've been doing this. Obviously, they're learning how to use a computer and a mouse, etc. And I'm just saying to them, oh, why do we always have to put a password in? And you explain to them, well, listen, can you imagine if all your toys were virtualized on a computer and someone could come and take them if you didn't?
Well, imagine all your toys were out in the backyard and not in the house, in the front yard and not in the house.
Yeah.
And anyone in the neighborhood could come and touch your toys.
And it's a conceptual thing, but it resonates with them. And that's the generation, because we've got this, we're already seeing a big gap. So we're already seeing the experienced cyber people now, they're retiring, next generation's coming in, but there is a big gap behind, if you like, my generation. And we're going to have a worse problem in 10, 20 years time when there is no talent because they're just not aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the argument that people always make for me, which is automation. And I go, you can only automate so much in security. It's like anything. It's people who tell me, well, AI. And
it's the most dangerous thing in the world, right? I had a conversation with someone very senior from a big technology company yesterday. And the point he was making is that, Mark, everything's going to be automated. And I said, absolutely no way. Yeah, so commoditized tasks, fine, right? So you get an email, a phishing attack email come through, it ends up in someone's mailbox, you identify it and you can remove it automatically. Great. You start to talk about AI. We had this in the UK. Okay, so what's the standard for AI? Because there isn't one.
There isn't one, doesn't exist.
So you go and speak to a technology company, I'd like to understand how your AI solution works. Well, we can't show you because it's continually learning. We can't show you the algorithms because how are you going to test them? So then you put all your trust into something that's automated, but is a brain that learns the entire time. And then you go, shit, what am I supposed to be doing now?
So I've had that conversation with people, and when they're describing, you get the emails from, I've got spam filters set up on my email, right? If you have AI slash ML, you go to spam.
Yeah.
Right? And someone was having a discussion with me yesterday, and they go, well, we're AI powered. And I said, how are you AI powered? And they go, well, we're continuing learning. I go, that sounds like machine learning.
Yeah.
I go, what's your speed? Well, we don't have one. I go, so you're machine learning? No, we're AI. I go, do you know the difference between AI and machine learning?
No.
Okay. See,
and that's the danger. And this is, the whole world can't end up being driven by AI.
It can't.
You can't.
No.
And you have to have a clean pair of eyes. And humans make mistakes as well. You get
Lots
that.
of them.
But you definitely can't rely only on technology. And we talk about behavior being one of the biggest issues. Everyone does. But when we talk about security strategy as a business, we talk about people first, and we talk about process. Then we talk about tech.
Yeah.
And we don't do it the other way around.
We don't do technology, process, then people.
Yeah.
It's people, process,
you don't
technology.
retrofit your business for a technology stack.
Right.
Hoping it's going to be efficient, because I've delivered hundreds of applications over my lifetime. And if you go with that approach, it fails.
Every time.
Yeah, in 98% of times it fails, or people are disappointed.
Yep. Thank you so much for coming on. I know we're out of time, but
it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Great meeting you.
And
Mark,
you.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Folks, we'll be back with more in just a little bit. We're at our RSA special coverage here at Fogo de Chao with our friends over at Snack. Till next time, stay tuned and stay cyber safe.